Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up and thrown for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Righto, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. Got myself a new toy. Been playing around with some live, going live on YouTube tonight as well as Facebook. It looks a bit better, a bit more professional now, a bit more better than what we're used to. So, might be in for a bit of a show for our viewers tonight. Glenn, mate, how was your week last week, mate?
Yeah, it wasn't a good one, mate. 1,255. I went down 800 spots, which is not too bad for me. I haven't had a good year anyway, so I don't own Marzu, and I looked at buying him last round, but I've been holding my trades for the last round. I've got this feeling everyone's going to be out, so I've got 18 for this round, so I thought I'm just going to hold on to him. But maybe I should have just bought him 3 weeks ago when I could have.
Yeah. No, it's all right. Well, I had a pretty decent week in the end. I started off a bit slow. A lot of players I missed out on, like DWZ, a couple of really big scores there, made me feel upset. But managed to make a few sneaky little trades in the end. And I brought in Katoa for Kuala Matangi. Good little trade there. Nice little score for me. And then, I brought in Asako as well with the 79 there. So, and here's the kicker. I sold a Trell Mitchell last week as a head-to-head move, and it paid off. So, very, very, a very lucky trade, I would say. I needed to make a trade that was a bit different, but it worked out pretty good. So, yeah, 1379 snuck back in the top 1,000. So, pretty happy with that result there. Let's get started. We'll start off as per usual with our overall leaderboard catch-up.
Before we go any further, I'll just let you know what you shared it to the group, the Tragics group, not the page.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
I fixed it though.
Cool. Fantastic. All right. So, guys, let's start with our leadership board there. So, as per usual, we've got the same one at the front there. Here come the Bears with Glenn coming in at 4th overall, sneaking up 2 extra spots, which is great news there for Glenn. And a new second place holder there is Frank's Tanks, sitting 10th overall. So, great work there. Awesome work. I reckon this could be a close one at the end there. I think looks like Glenn's been at the front for a while. I think it might be Glenn's year. So, all righty, let's start the week, Glenn. Let's get going.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
All right, guys. So, Glenn, game 1, mate. Panthers versus the Parramatta Eagles. Who here in this game are you looking at, mate? Anyone in particular?
Well, I'm not looking to get anyone, but if I was going to bring out anyone this week, Brian Toho, Stephen Crichton will both be 2 I'd be looking at. I think that Parramatta, being at its head-to-head finals too, I think that even Dylan Brown could be a sneaky pot option for people.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about as an option, depending on how team list went, was to actually sell Dylan Brown against the Panthers. But that was a bit of a very short thought in my head. It wasn't a very long thought. So, but yeah, I'm not really confident on any of the Parramatta players against this game. I think Panthers, Parramatta often turn up to these games, but they're not the Parramatta of old. They haven't got Moses in there. It's going to be hard to. Dylan Brown did a good job last week, but is he going to do what Moses normally does, controlling the game? I don't think so. Anything else before we move on to the next game, Glenn?
I just like him playing at 7. I thought. So for the Warriors Dragons, there's a lot to look at here. I mean, Charles Nickel-Clockstad, Dwozniak, Sean Johnson. You know, it's a head-to-head final. So, I mean, if you don't own any of those three and you're playing head-to-head, I'd be definitely looking at bringing in one of them.
Yeah, one of the trades I was looking at, because I've still got Ford and he's on the bench this week, and I was tempted to go Ford with through a few different dual position players, and bring in Charles Nickel-Klotstag as my last trade there. That could be a sneaky little move for me. So I think Chance is someone, even DWZ, very scary not to own. So, but I don't see anyone from the Dragons being worth even a look at. So,
no, absolutely, I agree. Especially not at head-to-head finals. I mean, I think these Panthers and the Warriors, both these sides could be high scoring, and I think both could be. I mean, I may even bring in CNK myself this week for Latrell.
Yeah, well, there's a sneaky player that I do like in here, but I just you need to have crazy trades, and I don't think it's really worth it. But I don't mind Curran starting. I like Curran as a starting edge player. I think but I just don't trust the minutes having Ford on the bench there as well. So
there's even a scenario where he doesn't start, mate, and Ford comes on. I mean, I looked at that myself, and I agree with you. I mean, if I knew that Curran was playing the full minutes in that position, I'd be all over it. Because him, but I think there's a better one coming up in that position in second row, which would be Eli Katoa. We'll talk about when we get to him.
We'll move on to game number 3, and we have Dolphins versus the Cowboys. Glenn, anything interest you, mate?
I think for head-to-head finalists, Drinkwater could be interesting. I've had a few people mention Dearden to me. I don't hate it. The Dolphins do defend fairly well. But I still think Zarko's a play. But, yeah, Drinkwater's the only one that really stands out. Lukey, Leilua, yeah, not really. Just Drinkwater's the only one.
Yeah, you look at other positions like 5'8" and stuff, and Dearden's got his moments in him, but that's just like Dearden would be, in my opinion, he'd be that guy that you get if you're failing a head-to-head, and it's the last 2 games, so it's like, Hail Mary. But because he's playing the 3rd game, he just can't do it. So, honestly, I'm not a big fan of anyone. I've got Nikorima in my team still. I still think he goes all right in this game. Playing at rookie, playing at fullback. So, I don't mind having Nikorima in this game. He's one of those guys that can just jump out and he'll score like 10 points at half time, and then all of a sudden he just gets involved in everything and then gets this quick 60. So nothing too drastic or major, but good enough if you ask me. So
I like him at 5'8" too. I really like 5'8". He's a ball player, and I mean, and there'll be a bit of defense in there as well, which is he doesn't get at fullback. So I don't disagree with you on Nikorima.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like too much was I was a bit nervous watching. It was last week when was it Harrison Edwards went off the field and he just played in hooker, and he was getting more base, I guess, but he really wasn't taking many attacking stats. He was just doing a catch and pass and then tackling like a beast. But then towards the end there, he comes on and starts playing like a roaming center role almost. It was pretty handy, but wouldn't be trading him in. So next game, we've got the Storm versus the Titans. There's 2 players in this game that I haven't got, and I am so scared not to own. So, and that's Munster and Grant. Your thoughts here, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm not as scared as Munster as you are. The ones that I am in this side that I think are really interesting is Xavier Coates down that left edge versus the Titans side who leak on that right side. I actually like him for this game. I think Will Warbrick, I mean, the Storm are playing to their right side really well. A lot of sides play left. They're playing to their right side. As you see, Warbrick's got 3 tries last week. I think for those that have got a sketchy head-to-head and they want a little pod move, I think you couldn't go too wrong with Mick Meaney, Will Warbrick, Xavier Coates, Cameron Munster, Harry Grant. But the one I really like is Eli Katoa. I mean, last week he had 2 try assists, just on fire, and I sold him in my draft like 2 rounds ago when he was on the bench because I needed to clear up the bench to get a bench score. You know how you loop your bench in? I had to take him out when he was on the bench, and it ended up costing me the next week. My opponent that I'm playing in the final this week has him. He bought him. He actually thanked me for him. But
sneaky. Yeah, no, I was during my head-to-head last week, I was down by I think it was Friday night. My projection was like 250 points below his. It was that bad. I had the worst 2 nights of football, and then I had to make some crazy drastic changes, and I went Kuala Matangi to Katoa. Knowing that Katoa has a ceiling, I needed to have one of those players, and it paid off. And very, very grateful for that because it ended up helping me win that head-to-head, which was a very big shock to me. So,
Yeah, nice play,
anyone
mate.
else?
Look, No, I mean, all the ones that I just mentioned, I really like. I think Harry Grant could be a good C option this week. We'll get to all the C options. I think there's quite a few this week. But no one else really, mate. There's just the ones I mentioned. A few of those backs look interesting. I think they could win this by a big score, which makes Meany as a goal kicker interesting. What is interesting about this game, though, is Ryan Pappenhausen's the 19th man. And there could be a chance that he comes in through the roaming role as a lock, or he could maybe even come in and push one of them wingers out and push Meany to the wing. So keep your eyes on the team list.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed about Meany going to the wing, frankly. I'm more concerned about him not kicking goals. But I think one thing well, that was one of the moves I was planning on making actually. If I was to sell Dylan Brown, it would be Dylan Brown to Pappenhausen if he started. That'd be a risky move to make, but it's one of those Hail Mary moves. It's just you need to have those in the back of your mind just in case you need them. But yeah, I think I'm not. I think he comes from the bench. I think he starts from the bench if he does play. So, with the Titans, there's 2 players here that I haven't got, and I'm normally not overly happy with having them. I haven't them in my head-to-head opponent, but I'm actually not too worried too much this week, and that's Fafita and Tino for Malawi. Your thoughts here? Do you reckon these guys get shut down by the Storm, or do you reckon they do a big score still?
Yeah, no, I don't. The Storm defend very well, but where they do leak is on their edges, and Fafita's late moves to the. I mean, you could see a possible try assist out there, but yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of him either, mate. Not versus Storm. The Storm and the Panthers defense is really good.
Yeah,
Defense Supercoach scores really well.
And that was the reason why I death rode Fafita. He's been scoring really well considering the teams he has been playing, but it hasn't been scary enough. I've been counteracting them with players like Katoa and players like when Ford tons up. So very lucky. All right, we'll move on to the next game. And we've got the Roosters versus the Tigers. Some big news here. We've got Manu at fullback, and we all know what he can do there.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know Manu and you're playing head-to-head finals, he might be one you want to bring in. I mean, he averages huge at fullback. Having said that, I said it last week in the chat, and I said Tigers defend Supercoach scores really well. And the guy turned around, and someone in the chat turned around and said, "Oh, not since what's his name's been out." So I actually went through and got all the numbers and had a look, and there still was no scores over 100. And against last week against the Warriors, there was no score over 100, and last week there was no score over 100. However, I think Suwali and Joseph Nanu in this game could score well.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think there's I was even liking because I got Tupou in my team as well, and I'm pretty sure is Tupou on the right edge or the left edge
left.
Yeah, so he's up against Nofo, so I'm actually really excited about owning Tupou this week as well. So I think he's a nice little play this week.
Well, interestingly enough, it's the right wing where we've been leaking, mate. The other wing, our left. So the right second rowers and right wingers have been scoring against us. That's where our points have been coming against the Tigers. But I do agree with you versus Nofaluma, but it hasn't been leaking as many points in there as you might think.
Yeah, I think one big call out for that edge. I know there is Nofo on that side. We very much know Nofo is very notorious for leaking points. However, who's that second rower on that edge? And we know he can defend really well, and that's Bateman. So I think that could be a big reason why there's less points being leaked down that edge. I think Bateman's a very good reader in defense. So speaking of Bateman, anyone in the Tigers here that you'd be
Tupou and Kapoa, they've been. No, not at all. I mean, Bateman I'd play if I owned him. But apart from that, no, I actually think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm still not overly impressed with the way the Roosters have been playing. They have been winning. I get they've been, but still not really convinced by them.
Yeah.
All right, next game. Let's have a look. We've got Raiders versus the Broncos in Canberra. What are your thoughts on this one, mate? You think the Broncos get it done?
I think the Broncos will win the game. Absolutely. I don't mind Reece Walsh. I don't mind Farnsworth, Tony Staggs. But yeah, no Adam Reynolds. That affects their kicking game. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be going to great lengths. Reece Walsh is probably the only person I'd jump on.
Yeah, I think the Broncos have been surprising everyone all year. Like they'll have a game without Reynolds, and everyone will think that they're going to collapse, but they still just come through. They've been that team that's been more consistent most of the year than in most other teams, which has been surprising considering what we know that Broncos can do. Broncos tend to start seasons really, really strong and then just fade out and fall out of the eight, but they've just proven us wrong this year. And I think Broncos do a good job here. I think having Reece Walsh there, that when A-Ray isn't there, I think Reece Walsh really does that good job of actually controlling the flow of the game too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone for the Raiders? I know Rapana had a pretty decent week last week. Probably not a guy you'd want to play or purchase in this week.
No, I wouldn't be touching him. I think he'll still base well. If you owned him, you could play him, but no. I mean, he does seem to play well at Canberra. I think he might be an all right draft move. I wouldn't be bringing him in for Classic, not based on what else is available.
Yeah, and then we've got the two probably the key players that most people may potentially have, and that's Tarpany and Corey Horsburgh there. So last few weeks it's been up and down with who's going to score the most points as they've been swapping back and forth. I'm not sure. I think I was lucky enough to have Tarpany last week do a good job for me and win the game for me. But how do you think they go?
Yeah, I think they'll go well. I mean, I think they should base well. I mean, they always do. Tarpany had a great game last week. He was really good. You know, I had Horsburgh and Tarpany, and I'll be playing both. Not that I have any way of not playing them. I've only got 18 players.
Yeah, well, it's a funny story. The Raiders played the very last game, and I had Tarpany as my last player of difference, and I needed to get 45 points from Tarpany to win. And I'm looking at his last week's score, and it was exactly 45 points. And as the game started, all the other games updated, and all I needed him to get was 30 points. And then he comes out and busts out a massive 91, and I was like, all right, then I'll take that. Just secure that for me, which is really good. So
yeah, he had a good game.
All right, we'll move on to the next game. That's Bulldogs versus Manly. So I'm going to tip potentially an upset in this game. Your thoughts here, Glenn?
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I think it depends what happens with Garrick. If Garrick plays, there's some rumours now that he is going to play. There's some stories on NRL 360 tonight that he may back up and play, even with the back issue that he's got. I think Manly are actually playing some pretty good football. But we'll see how it plays out. But Ben Trebojevic named at second row is interesting. But the only person of interest for me in this game is Daly Cherry Evans. If you want a super pod, I think DCE could be that man. So if you're, it's the second last game of the round, but if you're in a position where things are looking pear shape and you need someone in the halves position, DCE could be your play.
Yeah, DCE's been just turning it up the last few weeks. Up against the Panthers, still think he owned Cleary that first half, and that's big coming from me as a big Cleary fan. So, but yeah, I think a team with nothing to lose have no fear. They just go out and just throw the ball around, have some fun, and they are dangerous. And that's why if Garrick doesn't play, I'm really not convinced by Manly. I think DCE has so much on his plate already to manage the whole team. Then to have to worry about the fullback position as well, it would just be too much for him, I think. And that's why I reckon the Bulldogs, if Garrick doesn't play, actually have a chance to maybe get a close win in this game. But that's just my bold prediction for the week. Anyone from the Broncos you'd be interested in, mate?
I don't disagree on that. What was that?
Oh, sorry. Anyone for the Broncos?
What'd you say then?
Anyone from the Broncos? The Bulldogs, mate. Sorry, I saw the Bulldogs. Yeah, go.
Not really, but I mean, I like Viliami Kikau. But the two that I've been playing really well has been Averillo and Carraz. I mean, Averillo the week before last had a 17, but apart from that, for the last 8 or so weeks, he's not been under 60. He's had 2 under 60s now. But Carraz 61 last week. I mean, he's basing phenomenal. You know what I mean? For draft, I don't know about if they've got the ceiling though, where I'd bring them in for Classic, mate.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think this is well, I don't mind teams playing it because Manly are leaking a bit of points as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, I just can't think of it. I think there's two teams here that leak points. It could be a higher Supercoach scoring game, but I don't know if I can pick any of them out of the hat. Really, I don't think we're gonna. The top scorer in this game, I reckon, is gonna be someone that surprises everyone. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
alrighty, last game of the week, we've got the Knights versus the Sharks. How do you see this one got playing out, Glenn?
I actually think this will be a low scoring game. I think both these sides are playing really good football. I mean, the Sharks have been up and down. They haven't shown me the consistency I like, but 7 wins in a row. They're playing their 8th game the Knights at McDonald's Stadium. Kalen Ponga, Dane Gagai, Bradman Best, Greg Marzu. Throw a stone at any one of those, mate, and you couldn't do too bad. So if you need someone late in the round that you want to pick up, I actually like Gagai. If you already got Marzu and you want to jump on someone else, and Gagai is just basing incredible. He just needs one attack stat to get a decent score. Talakai is the other one I like, although they're up versus Bradman Best and Gagai, who are both defending really well this year. I think they're playing some really good football. Kalen Ponga, obviously. I mean, if you don't own him, what have you been doing? Everybody should own Kalen Ponga. He should be 100% owned. But if you don't and you're playing head-to-head finals this week, that's who you want. Kalen Ponga, he is just on fire. He is playing probably the best football I've seen him play since, apart from the first year he came into grade. It's probably the best season I've seen from him.
Yeah, every single time he touches the ball, it's like you just expect a line break or a line break assist. He's looking so dangerous. Yeah, it's been really good to watch, actually, seeing him back to his best, earning that big paycheck. So,
and that step, I mean, what he did last week, he ran backwards to go forwards, and that was incredible. He kind of ran back and then stepped around through the center. I can't even remember who it was, but it was electrifying. I mean, as a non-owner of Marzu, it was frustrating, and I own Ponga, so everything was coming off Ponga, but it was all going to Marzu, and I was like, yeah, nah. It was like frustrating, and I could have bought him last week. Like I was in a position to do it. And I didn't again. I've just been holding these trades for the last round thinking, oh, well, they're going to have all these mass restings. I'll have a couple of trades to throw at it and we'll see what happens. But from the other side, I mean, Nico Hines, look, I don't know if Hines scores as well in this game. So if you wanted to jump on someone like a Sean Johnson for Hines, I wouldn't hate it. But I don't hate Talakai and I don't hate Connor Tracy. I think Connor Tracy at the back's been scoring really well. Plays to that left side really well. I'd be playing I'll be playing Nakora.
Yeah, I've got in this game I've got Ronaldo as well, who I almost have to play now if Garrick's ruled out. So, but yeah, I think I'm not too fast on Ronaldo. I think the middle defense from the Knights has been really, really impressive. The last 7 weeks now. But I think anyone can get a try on the wing. So I'm still think Ronaldo has a chance to get some points here. So,
Do you know who's really impressed me from the Knights, mate? Has been Crossland, Phoenix Crossland. Like I've watched him play for a couple of years now, where he's only did little stints coming off the bench, and I thought this kid's got it. But this year he's turned up and he's playing a tough physical game up the middle. He's really impressed me.
Yeah, no, I picked up. I had no 5'8". I had to pick up someone in the draft. A couple of I think it was when who was their hooker that went down? Someone went down and they needed to run real bad. They had like 12 hookers go down, but and they had to play Crossland, and I was like, oh, I might just sneak him in, and he's actually scored sneakily quite well. Not very consistently, but when he gets a score, he gets a score, right? So
I'm playing Kando this week in the finals, so that'll be an interesting one. I've got Luai and I had Moses, so I've had to replace Moses, and I've got Trindle there, but I don't really like him, and I swapped him today to someone else. I can't remember who it was. Oh, I bought in Madden from the Broncos. I thought, why not? There was not much available to buy, so I bought in Jock Madden.
Yeah, I think last time A-Ray was out, Madden really did a decent job, didn't he?
He's a good footballer,
and he had a really good Supercoach score, if I remember correctly, as well.
Yeah,
because I've got Madden. As I'm in a keeper league that's got a few it's like you keep all your players. It's one of those ones where you keep it. In probably in the second year now, and your bench in this league is massive. You get like probably 10 players on your bench, and I've been getting these young fellas in. Like I've had them fair for ages, and I've had Madden there for a while. So he's really, really. I reckon he's definitely, especially with A-Ray. I think he's one of those ones you want to keep because A-Ray, you never know when he's going to be out. Good to have a backup.
Yeah, well, I can't decide whether I play him or Trindle, but I think I'm going to go Madden. I just like the Broncos matchup better than I like the Sharks. So, yeah, I just think all four of those sides have got something to play for. So, both matchups should be interesting games. So I just think the Broncos have got more strike than what I'm going to see from the Sharks versus the Knights. And Hines takes more ball, although I feel like Trindle's affecting Hines just for their record. Like, I think they sort of negate each other from a super coach perspective. Although last week, Heinze did pretty well, but prior to that, as you've seen.
I'm death riding Heinze, mate. So I'm hoping Knights do a good job on him. So, all right, well, that wraps up the games for this week. So let's move on to trade talk.
Let's make a trade!
I'm loving these little buttons, man. How good are these buttons?
Yeah, right.
Love it. You got the one trade still, Glenn? And
I have. So I've got Cody Walker at 5'8", and but what I'm doing is I'm going to VC Cleary, and if Cleary goes well enough, either way, I'm thinking I'm just going to leave Cody there because I've got 17 players, right? Unless Garrick plays. So I'll just get it'll be the same anyways, getting the 17th. Or the other alternative was I can sell Latrell. I can actually bring in anybody I want, like literally in any position, the way my rotation moves other than hooker and halfback, sorry. So I can bring in a 5'8", I can bring a fullback, I can bring in a centre wing or a second row. And so I'm debating whether I get Elise Katoa or whether I bring in someone like a Reece Walsh, a Marzu, a Gagai, or a Charles Nickel-Clockstead. But at the moment, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm going to see how the Panthers game unfolds and what Cleary gets, and then I'll take it from there. I mean, Latrell's out, so if I do sell anyone, that's probably who I sell, and I can get a centre wing or a fullback if I do it that way.
Yeah. I've got you guys know me. I've got a lot of people that watch this show that I'm bursting in my head to head, so I don't try to tell what trades I'm going to do. But I don't really know at this stage what trade I'm going to do. I never do. I try to play it by the ear for the head to head. But I've got Jackson Ford in my team, and if he doesn't start on the edge and he comes off the bench, I will need to trade him out. So I've got a few positions available that I can. I've still got Schuster in there. Hoping he stays outside of the 17. He's named at 18, I'm pretty sure. So if he stays outside the 17, then that gives me a bit of room to loop, I guess, and move some people around so I can get forward out. I can bring in a fullback. I can bring in a 5'8". I can bring in a center wing and a second row. So pretty much every position I can bring in if I get forward out. So, but if Ford does play on the edge, I won't need to worry about trading him out at all. I can look at someone like trading out a Garrick and bringing in any fullback, any center wing at that price. So, yeah, I haven't thought of anything. I like the idea of potentially getting Walsh or Chance. I like the idea of Chance.
Yeah, I could go Chance.
Yeah, that game is a bit scary. You want to be a part of that game, I feel. In New Zealand.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking myself. I may even go Latrell to Chance, mate. I think that could be the play I go.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to captain, vice captain.
Oh, captain. My captain.
All right, Glenn. Sorry, I've had so much fun playing around with these sounds. How are you going? Will you look at my VC captain
I'm
choices?
going to VC Cleary, mate. It's pretty generic, and I've got the captain on Ponga at the moment. I just think both of them. I like the matchup versus the Eels for Cleary, specifically against that edge. And but I don't hate Sean Johnson, Charles, and the other one's Manu. I think Manu could be a sneaky pod captain this round, and I may even, depending on things, go VC Cleary, C Manu.
I like that a lot. I like it a lot. My current VC is actually Sean Johnson. I think I prefer the matchup than the Parramatta Eels, only because I've been a Panthers fan for quite a long time, and I know that Parramatta, they take it personally when they play against Penrith, and it tends to be a lot closer game than usual. I get that there's players out, but there's just that rivalry there, and it tends to really showcase Parramatta's competitive nature, which normally doesn't always end the best for the Panthers. So that's why I'm going to stick to SJ as vice captain. And currently I've got the captain on Manu. I've got the captain on Manu at the moment. But that could change to Ponga. That could change even to who else I got there? Even if I do bring that Munster trade in as well, I can potentially look at trading in Munster as well if I so choose to go that way. A bit riskier go on the Munster trade because, as we all know, he was a 23 last week and Melbourne put on a few points. So, but I think I think I'm going to go stick very generic and vanilla and go SJ into Manu for now.
Yeah, I like it, mate. I just brought in Nickel Clockstad then, so it leaves me with Gary, Burbo, and Stefano on the bench not being played.
Yeah,
Haas.
Okay.
I got to pick one out of those four.
Okay, well, I'd be picking Haas.
Yeah, if he gets the Menas. Not the wrong Haas, Titans
Oh,
Haas.
okay. He looked pretty impressive though with that footwork at the line last week.
But he didn't play 80 minutes, and that's the issue I had.
Yeah.
So it's got to hit Stefano, Haas, Garrick, and Burbo. And I'll go Garrick 100% if he plays. But the problem is we won't know that. Hopefully I know that before, because Haas plays pretty early. Titans, where are they? Yeah, hopefully we should know that by Saturday night, right? Yeah, we should. We'll know because it's Sunday 2:00, Saturday 6:30. Yeah, I'll know it. We should know if he's in the squad, if he stays in that 19. And if he doesn't play, I can just move it to Burbo.
Yeah, I think Burbo, if he doesn't get injured and he plays on that edge, I think he gets a decent score.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I've brought him in when he gets the green dot next to his name, and I'm like, cool, he gets good points when he plays the full 80, and then he just gets injured or HIA. It's just the Turbo boys, the Turbo boys. They are unlucky with injury, so it's risky. But if he plays the full 80 or even 60, he gets a decent score. So.
Yeah, they've had an interesting year. Just two things I wanted to say quickly. One is I don't know if you heard, but Schuster may be going to the Dragons. So there's some talk tonight that Schuster's moving to the Dragons, and John Morris has been moved to the Tigers. He's been stood down from South Sydney, and Sam Burgess has been punted as well.
Yeah, well, Burgess.
I think that's a big call, man, for Demetrius, because he's a much loved person at South. I don't know how that'll go down with the Bunnies faithful.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people had a lot of in the team. A lot of players had a lot of respect for Burgess. So
Me too.
let's see. They're already imploding right now. Let's see how they go next week, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. You got some questions there, Glenn. Let's start with some viewer questions.
Any questions?
So we got Bradley Baxter. He says, I'm in a head-to-head grand final. I'm looking at bringing one of the following as a unique player to try and win. Sawali, Dearden, Cobbo. Which one of these four do you see scoring best this week? Sawali, Toho, Dearden, or Cobbo? Toho would be my answer, not even thought process.
Yeah, so who's that edge? Who's the winger on the edge, on the left edge of
Sevo.
Yeah, Sevo. He's not if he hits you, you stay hit. But he misses you a lot. I think there's a lot of tries. Yeah,
especially 100%. On his line. He's really bad at coming in on the centre and leaving that gap out where Toho will be. And Toho is an interesting one to buy this week. I'm actually tempted to go Toho over Clockstad, and I can do that. I just feel that the points are there this week. I really do. I think I just don't like Crichton and Peachy. They're just both hogs. They just do not let the ball go. But I can see Cleary putting one straight out to Toho around Sevo. I can see it happening. In fact, I'm going to put a bet on.
The eyes up footy that Cleary has, he'll see Sevo running from a mile away over his head straight to Toho. I can see a couple of tries coming from Toho this week.
Yeah, out of those, I like Toho, and in second, I would say probably Sawali. That would be my second in that pick of players. But mate, if you want a real pod, Elise Katoa. I really like Eli Katoa.
If you can afford those players, you could easily get in someone like a Katoa. Playing another good matchup. He's playing some good footy. I was so stoked when he got that try assist for the tackle. That was a great tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I made a joke about this. He got try assist for that, and then like 5 seconds later, 12 points just rock up. I'm like, oh, sweet. So
yeah, he had 2 try assists, 2 tries, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. 127, I think he got in the end. So take that every day of the week. All right. Is that everything?
That is for there, yep.
All righty. I don't think we have anything in the chat at the moment. So just have a look. So,
Just what I wanted to add to. So when we do the Super Coach next year's, guys, I'll talk this over with Dan, but we'll go at the end through the women's games for those that play Bundy Mixer at the end of the season. I won't do that tonight because at the end of the year, I won't go through the whole team list. But what I'll do is I'll pick my player in each position for the round. So I'll pick the second rower, the fullback, the half, and the hooker. Those 4 positions for those who are playing Bundy Mixer. But we'll do that as of next year.
Yeah, that'll start midway through the year again, won't it? Next year. So
yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, we'll have the BBL one going soon. So get ready for that, and we'll be live streaming now.
Yeah, all good. Love it. All right. Unless there's anything else, that wraps everything up nice and neat. Thank you very much for listening. Tune in next week, guys, and hope you all see some green arrows. Peace out.
Yes.